Hello and welcome to another edition of Sree's Sunday New York Times Read Along. Our guest this week is Nick Balaban, a musician, composer, and singer songwriter. We'll hear more about his career in just a moment, but we want to note that Sree is on Fire Island in Saltaire, New York, and he's doing this show in person. My name is Neil Parekh. I'm the executive producer and guest host of the show. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and our Digimentors website. Please like, comment, share, tag a friend, let them know that we have another great show planned. We also want to ask you where you're watching from. Put it in the comments. And if you're watching on Facebook, we want to make sure that you press play on the video. Don't just watch it in your timeline, but press play on the video so that if you do leave a comment, we have a chance to see it. As I mentioned earlier, wanted to give a little bit more background on our guest. Nick is a popular jazz and blues musician who has performed, recorded with some of the most important names in music: Ray Charles, James Taylor, Carly Simon, and more. He was also a composer and performer on Blues Clues, the legendary kids TV show. So we will be bringing on Sree and Nick in just a moment. We do want to say hello to Jonathan watching from the East Village. Jonathan, it's always a pleasure to have you join us. And for all of our friends in New York, we know the last few days were very difficult with the air quality. And I know Sree was in Fire Island. He'll share a little bit about that when he comes on the show. Again, we want to make sure you know that from the get go, we're going to be mentioning this a few times on today's show. But as a special announcement, we want to make sure you know that on June 21st, Wednesday, so that's after Father's Day, so about 10 days from now, we're going to be doing a special edition with Jake Silverstein, the editor in chief of the New York Times Magazine. We'll be in person from New York Times HQ, and it's going to be incredible. I'm going to be in New York for the week. Sree and I have a chance to sit down with Jake. We'll get a sneak preview of the New York Times Magazine coming out later that Sunday. So please make sure to join us for that. We have a few more folks who are watching, and Jonathan actually followed up on the air quality comment. He's still coughing a little bit. Jonathan, sorry to hear that. Patricia is watching from New York on LinkedIn. Thank you, Patricia. Manuel says greetings from Spain. Again, our international audience coming to the fore. So with that, let's go ahead and bring on Sree Srinivasan. Sree, good morning. How are you?
I'm very happy to be with all of you. Hello from Saltaire, which is a village on Fire Island. This is the second week in a row we're coming to you from Saltaire. The last time I was at our beach rental house, but this time we're in the home of Nick Balaban, who is our guest, and we're so grateful that he would open up his home this early on a Sunday to us. You'll meet him in just a moment. We're going to be talking about the New York Times. We're going to be talking about news, misinformation, disinformation, maybe some politics, but also about his career, but all the awesome things that he's working on, lots of projects, including we're going to talk about his music and some of the albums. And we want you to tell us where you're watching from, how your Sunday is going. Please let us know in the comments. And also, we want to thank our sponsors, MuckRack, for pulling this show together, helping us put this show on the air every week, Sundays, 8:30 to 10 a.m. Eastern. If you would like to be a sponsor, Sree at Digimentors.group or Neil at Digimentors.group. And we are brought to you, of course, by our production and consulting company, Digimentors. We work on digital marketing, events, and programs like this one, strategic communications, training and workshops, as well as staffing and recruiting. If you're hiring any social or digital folks, you know that we can help you find them. And I've just started doing a whole bunch of training around generative AI, ChatGPT, and all those kinds of things that are, of course, taking over the world. I call it my non-scary guide to ChatGPT and AI. And if you are interested in doing a session with me, it's remote or in person, 20 minutes to 3 hours. We have all of that set up and ready to go. So just get in touch. No audience is too big or too small. And we will look forward to hearing from you on that. So we're live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on Digimentors.group right now. Please share, please tag your friends. They can watch live or later. It'll come up immediately on all of these channels. I see Dr. Tachi is with us. Good morning from Fort Lauderdale. Very happy to see you. And Pradnya is with us. Rosemont, Illinois, outside of Chicago.
She's at a family wedding, but she's still logging in on Sunday morning. I hope everything went well, Pradnya. Loved seeing the pictures online.
And Naomi is with us, lovely Upper West Side. And Erica's watching from India. Thank you so much. It's the evening there. And Miriam's watching from Hell's Kitchen. A lot of these places Nick has been to and can tell us some stories, I'm sure. And Doug is watching from San Francisco. It's 5:30 in the morning. Doug, thank you for watching always. Bijay is watching from India as well on LinkedIn. So all of these different platforms. Before I bring Nick on, just very quickly want to show you what our the newspaper looks like, and then we'll bring him on. We're going to start with the Times Magazine, Neil, because we have a very exciting special edition of the read along coming up.
Absolutely.
We're going to be with the magazine editor in the office when we are with him in a few days. So please join us on the 21st of June. It is not a Sunday, so we're going to be reading the paper, the magazine with Jake Silverstein in his office at the New York Times headquarters. Interestingly, not the first time that we have been at headquarters to read the newspaper. We read with Ari Goldman in the New York Times High School Academy from the 14th floor. The Sunday business cover is their crypto hedge fund collapse, prompting investigations and leaving their creditors out billions. So why are these founders living their best lives on an extended luxury vacation? Su Zhu is in Singapore and Kyle Davies is in Barcelona. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. And the hot new thing is a loan from 2021.
Sree, we lost your audio for a moment. So we will get Sree's audio back. But as you can see that Sree is looking at the front page of the Sunday Styles. And Cheryl Hines is along for the ride. RFK Jr.'s husband. And as he's flipping through, again, just to mention, Sree, if you can hear me, we lost your audio from the show, but he's looking at the metropolitan section and what to do about the city's feral cats is the headline there. There we
Let's
go.
yeah, let's see. I don't remember seeing feral cats in New York, but apparently there are thousands living on the streets. Sound makes it sound like Istanbul, where there are a lot of those cats. The Sunday Opinion cover is from Tel Aviv to Riyadh. Saudi women are going to space. Israelis are marching in the streets. There's a radical transformation underway in the Middle East, and the United States can't afford to watch from the sidelines. This is Tom Friedman's cover in Sunday Opinion. And the book section, prodigal daughter Rachel Louise Snyder lost her mother to cancer at 8 and was kicked out of her high school and her home at 16. Women We Buried, Women We Burned chronicles her quest to create a fulfilling life on her own terms. And that's her mother, I guess. Here you see her here. All right, and on the we're going to read the front page with Nick. So this is a chance for me to bring Nick on stage here and bring him to you and tell you all about Nick Balaban. Folks, you're watching the Sunday New York Times read along. We are grateful to all of you for being with us. Nick is a popular jazz and blues and more musician who has performed, recorded with some of the most important names in music: Ray Charles, James Taylor, Carly Simon, etc. He was also a composer and performer on Blues Clues, the legendary kids TV show. Please welcome onto the New York Times read along, Nick Balaban.
Hello. Wow, how did I get here? Uh,
Thank you
yeah,
for
this
doing
is
this. Are you a Sunday morning person?
sure. I'm a person every morning. Um, but uh, but yeah, it's this is a great honor because I've been watching watching this show like as a reader or as a I don't know a consumer
Consumer.
of
Yeah.
the Sree reading the Times show. And so this is like I feel like I'm with the celebrity now and doing something I never imagined I would. This is great.
Well, thank you so much for having us here. We're in your home. You have house guests, and Maura is here early in the morning. So thank you. Apologies to all the house guests who are hearing us now. We have so much to cover, but first we should tell people a little bit about Fire Island and Salt Air Village, one of I think 15 or so villages in Fire Island, on Fire Island.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of New Yorkers have never been here, even though even some people who are born in Long Island have never been here. So tell us a little bit about this place.
Well, my wife grew up coming here every summer, so she knows a lot more about it than I do. Um, I I came to learn about this place through her when we were dating in the late 90s or mid to late 90s is when I discovered this place. And I still don't know. I mean, she knows everything. She can go to every single house in this village and tell you the history of every house, tell you who built the house and who's lived in it since. And it's, her mom was the village historian, and I think she's inherited a lot of that.
And it's we're only about 90 minutes from Manhattan, but it's a world away.
Yeah, yeah. There are no cars here, which is probably the biggest cultural, I don't know, factor. It changes everything when there are no cars. It's just wooden walkways. So there's a lot of walking and biking. Um, and it's I mean it's a whole different ecology here. There's a lot of deer, there's high grasses. I mean it doesn't look recognizable to when we go an hour and 15 minutes back home to Brooklyn, and it's not recognizable.
And the only way to get here is by ferry. And I think a lot of New Yorkers and others who have cars just can't believe there's a place where they can't take their car. And that's one of the things that I think is eye-opening for folks that there are still places in the world. Though, of course, New Yorkers are, I think, in some kind of battle between car owners and not in terms of the bike lanes now are there. New York seems to have become more car friendly. And then all those sheds for restaurants that have come
Yeah.
up. I think a lot of car owners hate them. Some of them have become eyesores, but some of them help save the restaurants.
Yeah, I think all of those changes have been great. I mean, we have to keep maintaining and tweaking things, but Jeanette Sadiq Khan
Hmm.
was responsible
Yes.
for the bike lanes, and she used to come here,
No.
and and I thought that was I thought it was great. I think the bike lanes are great, and I'm a driver in
Yeah,
New
you're a
York.
car owner. Yes, you are.
Mostly because to get to all my gigs, I have to load the
Yeah.
car up and get to gigs, which is something that I keep trying to bring up on Brian Lear. I haven't gotten on yet about that point, but
Because he's really pro non-cars, or I don't know how you call
well, I
it.
don't know. I mean, he holds his cards close,
uh,
but but they talk about congestion pricing a lot.
right. What do
Uh,
you think of that? London is doing that, right? This is where
I
you
think it's a
have,
great idea.
and it's coming. It's
It
coming
is
in. Yeah.
coming, but
So
I also think there needs to be. It's going to be very complicated, and it needs to be very complicated, and it needs to have myriad exceptions. And I think one of the rough things that's going to happen is musicians such as myself are not going to. drive with our equipment uh, into these parts of Manhattan anymore if we have to pay or get commercial plates on our.
And it's like $23 every time you come into one of those zones if you're alone, right?
Yeah, and that's I don't even want to talk about the percentage of what that is of a typical gig in
Oh,
Manhattan, but
yeah.
it's yeah, that the culture of Manhattan is going to change rapidly, and I think we're going to have a lot less art that is we're going to see a lot more Jeff Koons, a lot less Basquiat. It's going to
Hmm.
be the street art culture of New York is going to change. It's going to move to where it's going anyway, Brooklyn,
Hmm.
Queens.
Though I should say that Basquiat is now,
Yeah,
so we need a
huge.
different name
I
because
know, I
Basquiat is
know.
now a
I'm out
huge,
of it.
yeah, huge,
Ugh.
huge success and getting Basquiat in the same, it's hard to differentiate now. But we do want to say that people are watching and they're saying hi. Patricia says no better way to read the New York Times than in the New York Times read along. And Sudipta is talking about ChatGPT and all of this stuff. ChatGPT is fine in non-critical context. I treat it as my AI assistant that I have to micromanage. The
Wow.
oversell in its current iteration across sectors and geographies is an accurate resource. As an accurate resource is problematic. You heard about the lawyer who used ChatGPT and it cited precedents in something he filed, and they were all fake. They
Wow.
just made that up. But there's also a professor who failed half his class thinking they used ChatGPT when they
Right.
hadn't. So this is a moment where we need some clarification of what's going on. And Patricia is saying she loves the clever cover of the New York Times
Oh yeah.
Magazine. Bad credit, fix it now. The high cost of low scores. And you said something nice about the New York Times Magazine editor when I said that he's going to be our next guest.
Yeah, I said he's worthy of worship. I mean, this is what a this is I don't well, it's my favorite part of the New York Times is the magazine. I go right to it. I take it out and uh
Yeah,
yeah, I hoard them.
Wednesday. We're gonna have a Wednesday read along, June 21st, in the afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, it'll be recorded and available on all the channels. But Jake Silverstein is going to be our guest in New York Times headquarters. That's when the magazine first comes out on Wednesday, so we're going to be 3 days ahead of everybody else.
Wow.
Deborah Kurz watching from Fort Lauderdale. Hi, Deborah. And Ken Fisher is an engineer and non-journalist reporting from Iowa. Thanks, Ken. Let's talk about these places. Fort Lauderdale, you've been?
Yeah,
Any
yeah.
memories of Fort
Oh
Lauderdale that you
yeah.
can share publicly?
Sure. I mean, all right, here's my best memory of Fort Lauderdale, and it has little to do with Fort Lauderdale. I think I was either 9 or 11 years old, very young, and my great aunt Ella lived in Fort Lauderdale. And for some reason that I will never know, I was sent alone to fly to my aunt's. And I got to my aunt's house, and she had no kids. She had a dog that she gave colitis to twice by being a neurotic wreck. and she had this idea that she had to give kids food like all the time, a lot, a lot.
She was Indian.
Yeah, well, she was Jewish and probably Indian in a past life, and she gave me every breakfast food that you could imagine, and would start to cry when I would say, I thank you, I'm all full. So I ate until it really hurt, and then my parents showed up, and please take me out of here, take me away from Fort Lauderdale.
Oh no! All
But
right.
it had, that is not a story about Fort Lauderdale.
But we should tell our Fort Lauderdale viewers that they have to invite Nick so that he can have new memories of Fort Lauderdale that are
Right.
better than that. I thought this was toast, but it's actually a coaster in
Yes.
this home. So maybe this is subliminally harkening back to that experience. What about Iowa?
Uh, Iowa, Des Moines. I played in Iowa. I was in and out of Iowa, and I have to say it was beautiful. Uh, but my impressions were so superficial, um, and the audiences were great. But it was that I was touring with Culture, a reggae band, in the early '90s, and I think I might have been in Iowa with Sugar Minot and Shelly Thunder a year later. But yeah, that was brief.
Okay. Naomi is pulling up this wonderful description of Nick. Somewhere between Frank Zappa and Mose Allison, there lives a world where Nick Balaban is king, a benevolent and profound entertainer who leaves his subjects in stitches, all while grooving, and the record sounds amazing over my speakers. Brendan Canty,
Yeah.
drummer and composer. You want to say something, Brendan?
Brendan Canty, he's the drummer for Fugazi. Uh, uh, Pretty notable. I don't know what you call it, punk band, but maybe post. I don't know what. But now he plays with the band the Mesthetics that are also terrific. They did a Tiny Desk
Yes, concert. Yeah.
concert, and he's terrific drummer and a great guy, and that was so sweet of him to say. So
Erica says, good to see Sree and hello, Nick. And Vijay is talking about disinformation and misinformation is a big challenge before scribes and publications. And Jonathan says, Fire Island is part of being a New Yorker, even for those New Yorkers who haven't been. I have been exactly twice. So, Jonathan, we've got to fix that and bring you out here. Jonathan's a loyal viewer and good friend. We have a lunch date in a few weeks. Sudip also says ChatGPT will add to the scale of disinformation globally, and more so in countries that have low literacy rates and even lower digital literacy levels. For WhatsApp forward from a trusted family is considered God's truth. Erica, you've identified the problems, and and Erica says gentrification is awful because it displaces the people that make the places. So the spirit of a place is lost. That's beautiful. The people that make the places. What are your
yeah,
thoughts on gentrification? You live in Brooklyn, which has been the
yeah,
heart and soul of gentrification for some
yeah.
time.
Well, and we were gentrifiers. We are, I guess, we are gentrifiers. We moved to our neighborhood in Prospect Lefferts Gardens about 14 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, and it's undeniable. You have to. I think when you're moving into a place that already has uh, a culture in place, which is to say, any place,
Hmm.
you have to. I think if to be responsible, you have to adapt to the culture. Uh, as much as possible and be respectful. And I hope that we've done that. But yeah, gentrification is a complicated thing.
Miriam says, very interesting and disturbing perspective on congestion pricing from Nick. So, for those of you who missed it, he said, as a musician, when congestion pricing comes to New York, I think it's next year, there's going to be certain parts of lower Manhattan where if you're going in alone, you have to pay something like $23 every time you go in. And musicians like him and others are going to be less likely to load up their vans and go in
Oh
if
yeah,
they have to pay this extra. It's like a fine or fee.
it's not going to happen. I
Yeah.
mean, picture all these places in, for instance, the Village, like the Bitter End, or all those places.
Cafe Vivaldi, where you had a monthly gig,
Well,
was yeah, it was such a
they're
great place.
they
That's closed now,
yeah,
unfortunately.
that
It
was.
just didn't make it in the pandemic. Is that what it was?
No, it was
Oh,
pre-pandemic. They closed.
really?
It
Yeah.
was it became a CVS, I think, or
Oh
something
no.
like
Yeah,
that. They were,
everything's becoming a CVS.
or yeah, or maybe I'm thinking of the Village Gate became,
Yeah.
um, but it was yeah, that was a separate. I guess that's closer to gentrification. That was
Mm.
the landlord just uh, they couldn't survive, but it was they had been there for more than 50 years.
Mm.
Um,
And so you're saying that these kinds of places depend on the musicians coming in, but I thought it was during office hours that this congestion pricing. You think it's going to be in the evenings also, and like,
well, that's why I'm saying it needs to be it's it's complicated,
Mm.
and all of these things. There are so many things that have to be taken into consideration, and there are so many exceptions, and you know, it's. I do think it's a good idea. Something has to be done. Um, so it's very tricky.
Jonathan says, I miss Cafe Vivaldi. And Jonathan also says, the additional problem with gentrification and too often understated or ignored is racism. The people
Yeah.
most likely to be displaced by gentrification are people of color. Folks, tell us your comments and tell us where you are on a Sunday afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. We love having you with us every Sunday. Before we get to the paper, I love the title of this album, Hello, Cruel World, instead of Goodbye, Cruel World. Tell us about it.
It's a record that I finished during the onset of COVID. It's yeah, this is my daughter's art, and it's a fun CD. I think it's a fun album, and it's on all the platforms, all the streaming platforms and things. Just under my name, Nick Balaban. It's got great musicians on it.
Yeah, let's see read us some of the names here. So
Uh,
you're piano and vocal, and then who
yeah.
else is on there?
Robbie Amin, Lincoln Goins. This is what the CD itself looks like.
Some people are like, "What is a CD?"
Right. This is a CD, and it's also in vinyl record form.
Yeah.
I don't have the vinyl here, but that has a totally different set of artwork, also by my daughter, and Olivia Balaban, and who else is on this?
You have a sitarist, Abhik Mukherjee, is on it.
Yes. Oh, he's incredible. Abhik is, yeah, we have sitar and tabla. I don't know. I mean, it depends on the tune. One tune we have a string quartet, French horn, bass clarinet. There's a lot of, I mean, it all depends on the tune. Guitar and, yeah, Jack Devine and Mark Deffenbaugh and a terrific what's it called? Quattro player from Venezuela, Jorge or Georgie Glem.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
In one song, "Death of a Buffoon," you have ukulele, pump organ, quattro, and you and baritone.
Yeah, ukulele, baritone ukulele. Yeah.
Oh, it's baritone ukulele. Yep,
Yeah.
There we go. So every folks, you can get this at nickbalaban.com. You can find it there, but on all the platforms. Unfortunately, with the streaming, the problem is that you get 0.000 something cents for every 100 listens or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you even look at them? Is it even worth it? It's
No, I think I have $20
from Spotify
change on Spotify for like the whole few years that it's been up there, a couple of years, and I haven't figured out how to move that $20 into my bank.
Oh, what a pity! I mean, we're laughing here, but others would be crying. But
yeah, and I have to pay, I think, double that a year to stay on Spotify. So it's really it's if I don't know. I guess this is the problem with unbridled capitalism, with no regulations or you know, I don't know that the Swedish CEO of Spotify has heard of Adam Smith, or you know, like it's
well, he has, and that's how he's making his money. So he's happy.
well, Adam Smith had regulations in place. I mean, he had there was a very different idea of capitalism. It wasn't just you know.
Yeah, we call this late stage capitalism, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder what's coming next after this. Patricia says, "What is Nick's favorite part of Fire Island?"
I think it's ultimately just the lack of cars and the nature, because it forces a feeling of a community in a quiet atmosphere. So it's very different. You know, I don't know. You walk down these little walks and
Yeah.
say hello to people, and after a while, you feel like you know all these people that you just by virtue of living in this like these villages.
Well, for Manhattanite like me, it's so unusual to say hello to people because you're like looking down, don't say hello to anybody. Though if you're a dog owner, you are a little more friendly often. And so thank you, Patricia, for your question. And Erica is very fixated, rightly so, on this problem of the congestion pricing and says, can't that pricing be paid by the venue and factored into the cost of a show?
The venues are struggling.
Also, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know what to do about this is a huge the problem of the arts in general is it's much bigger than it's huge, and I don't know how we're going to survive.
Well, we want to hear your thoughts about all of these questions. Please post your comments and we'll read them. We're going to read the paper in a moment. Also, well, I'm going to ask Neil if he can cue up some music towards the end of the show. Let's play some tunes and hear Nick's music from the album Hello, Cruel World. And you can find it on all the music platforms. Spotify, Apple Music, etc. Is one of them better for you than others?
Yeah.
Tidal?
Well, Bandcamp
Mhm.
is the best
Mhm.
because that they stream it. They you can buy the CD or the vinyl from Bandcamp as well.
Mhm.
And on Juneteenth, they give all the proceeds to oh God, I forget the organization, but it's a human rights organization. They do it's Bandcamp is a great organization. And they also have these things called Bandcamp Fridays where they skip the middleman and all of the proceeds go to the artists.
Oh, we like hearing that.
Yeah, so that's
By the way, Dr. Tachi says, love the album artwork. And
it
this
is
is by
great.
Olivia Balaban.
And Olivia, yeah. Yeah, she's
And we're just looking at let's go through your site. Tell us
Oh,
what we're
okay.
looking at.
So on the right there, that's the vinyl cover for the same record. And underneath that is another record made from a group that was never a group. I don't even know how to describe this. They're called the Candy Asses, which was
Candy.
it came from Richard Nixon description of what I guess he referred to
His enemies.
his hateful liberal enemies. Um, anyway, that was a group of people that we all lived together in Boston in the early 90s, and two of us were musicians, myself and a tenor sax player, and the rest of us were kind of hobbyists or even non-musicians, and we just played in the basement every once in a while. And I found recently a tape, a cassette tape of our of playing a bunch of stuff with this non-group that never had a gig or anything. and, and I put it together with phone messages that were left on my machine at that time that were entertaining, and it's just a strange time capsule, and I had it mastered and released it. So that is streaming as well.
Maura, who's watching in the other room. And Maura, thank you for sharing the show with all your friends on Facebook as well. Says Anna Olivia, that's the spelling. So tell us about
Yeah.
that name. That's an unusual name. And I was calling her Olivia, but it's
Yeah.
Anna Olivia. So
And
tell us.
Olivia, yeah. That I'm well, Maura is Irish, and I am a James Joyce freak.
Hmm.
So Anna Olivia comes from Finnegan's Wake,
Mhm.
and also that comes from the River Liffey in Dublin, named after kind of the goddess of water, Anna Olivia, but they're the Gaelic. But the name came from my father-in-law, Dick Starkey, who we were looking for names, and Annabella Annabella Balaban was a little too bouncy. We were just, thinking of names, and we had all kind. I wanted Louisiana. I thought would be great, but every time I came up with nicknames like Wheezy, I thought Wheezy would be a great thing to, and Moore would strike it down, say you can't have a Supreme Court Justice Wheezy Balaban. Little did she know that the Supreme Court was about to explode into
All kinds of characters.
yeah, into wacky territory. Um,
Bijay says, amazing that there are no cars on salt air. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's one of the special things. And Marilyn's watching from Staten Island. I call her the Queen of Staten Island, and she's arranging next on the week of the 22nd on Thursday the 22nd of June. I'm going to be having a day on Staten Island, teaching workshops and talking about AI and all these great things. So thank you, Marilyn.
oh wow.
And by the way, it's Bloomsday in 5 days. So
Yeah.
that you're excited about that.
Every year I go to Ulysses Tavern on Stone Street in New York. It's, I think, the oldest street in Manhattan, maybe in New York City, and that place, which is run by Danny McDonald. It's a uh, great place to eat and drink. But on Bloomsday, it's really special. They line the street outside with tables, and they read Ulysses. All these people come and read from it, and in the end, oh God, Maloney. Oh no,
It's okay.
I'm just forgetting her first name, which is terrible because she's so great. But this is because of my brain. Uh, she reads Molly, and she's so great. Oh,
Okay, it'll occur to you. It'll
yeah.
come back. And this is our events in Staten Island. It's all about artificial intelligence. It's unlocking the potential of artificial intelligence for the Staten Island community.
Wow. Do we want to
And
unlock that?
yeah, in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way, I hope. And we want to thank the nonprofit Staten Island as well as community media of Staten Island. And this is at 100 Cable Way in Staten Island. I'm saying all this as if I know a lot about Staten Island. Everything I know, I learned from Maryland.
Well, you know the Queen.
Yes, I know the
So,
Queen, so that's all that's enough. Have you spent time on Staten Island?
not a lot, but I love seeing the Staten Island Yankees every once in a while.
Okay. Neil's a big regular Yankees fan, so
Yeah.
I don't know. He's going twice. He's coming up to New York and he's going twice, I think, in 1 week to see the Yankees. Mara says if Robert Moses had his way, there would be a big highway running down the beach of Fire Island. The adults used to get up and form a human chain across the beach when a car approached during that time. Wow.
Aiden Malodin. Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
Maureen.
Morris producing the show from the other room. Thank you, Maura. We appreciate that. So Aiden is the person who you're saying reads Molly.
Yeah, and Patty Fitzgerald reads the Citizen chapter in Ulysses, and that's a great treat as well.
All right, I think we should look at the newspaper together. So this is the New York Times. We'll maybe put it over here. And the lead story is the U.S. justice system put on trial as Trump denounces the rule of law, calls for violence. And he's asking everybody to show up in Miami on Tuesday. I don't think he's going to get a big crowd. I hope he won't, though it's Florida. You can never tell. Any thoughts on any of this? Feel free to jump in as I look through the headlines, whatever you're interested in, whatever gets you upset or happy or angry. I don't know if there's much to be happy about on the front page today.
Yeah, that's what can you say? Trump is on the front page of the New York Times, so that's a surprise. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's scary, although I think I had this thought yesterday that I hope that whatever happens now instead of waiting to happen, because I feel like he doesn't have a lot of support right now.
Look, apart from that 30%, he has that like 30% of people who love him,
Mm-hmm.
and so he has a ceiling, but he also has a floor,
Right.
unfortunately, and
Right. That's right. Yeah.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Kiev targeting Russia's lines for weakness, major offensive taking shape on key fronts, and it's hard to believe we are in war on Europe, a land war in Europe. They always say, it's not going to happen again, and here we are. It's been a year,
Yeah.
and it's just, people are carrying on. Lots of brave people there. California vote exposed a divide among Democrats. Race considerations. Muted response may follow a ruling on affirmative action. I haven't followed that story, unfortunately. Who raises the trophy first? Some say it's some guy in a suit, and this is I guess a story about basketball and
Yeah.
the
The
NBA
NBA.
championship. Are you a sports guy? What do you follow? Anything?
I haven't been a really serious sports guy since 1971 or so.
When the Knicks were good?
Well, yeah, the Knicks, and the Mets. I was a big Mets fan. So when they won in the big one in '69, and then
Yeah.
again in '71 and in '86, but
You just quit. You said you were going to quit while you're ahead.
no, I don't know. I drifted off,
Mm.
but
Here's a queen of clay, Iga Swiatek, won her third French.
boo Mets. Look at that.
Oh no, that's Neil. That's his. Yeah, his
It's
Mets
sad.
pro
Yankee
Yankee.
fans are, yeah. It's sad. I mean, I like the Yankees. My mother was from the Bronx, so I had
What happened? What happened? That's crazy. Nick, having just a little fun, and appreciate you letting me play. Obviously, as the producer, every now and then I play the producer card and put a banner across the bottom to show my love for the Yankees. And as Sree mentioned, I will be going to two games when I'm in New York later this week. Sorry, later this week, later this month, rather. So, Sree, we're gonna look to bring your audio back in just a
Yeah,
moment. There we
I
go.
think it's there
Good.
we go.
Good.
Thanks, Neil. And I was going to say the men's French Open starts in a few minutes, and it's Casper Ruud from Norway is playing Novak Djokovic, and I think Novak's a great tennis player, but he's I think not a very good person.
Yeah.
The way he behaves sometimes in terms of his anti-vaxxing and misogyny and other things that he has done. So I'm not cheering for him.
And just
Let's see
just
how
to go back
detective.
go back to that one story, Sree, about the who raises the trophy first. That's about the
Mhm.
owners getting to raise the trophy after a championship in whatever sport. They always
Yeah, it
call the
happens even
owner
with
up
the.
first,
Yeah,
right?
I think they do that in multiple sports. I think the
Almost
NFL does it too.
almost every sport.
Yeah.
yeah. I guess that's okay. I mean, I don't know. Do the players really care? I mean, he gets to they'll give him that, like, yeah, I get to.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
This I know many of us have followed this story about about these four students who died in Idaho, a very sad story.
yeah,
And but detectives broke a logjam, and it was literally somebody who knew who came in and killed these young students, a fellow student or former student. And then what a story! The Unabomber has died.
yeah,
Ted Kaczynski, a lonely boy genius, became a terrorist as the Unabomber, and he died in Saturday in prison. And there's a Sam Worthington show on, I think it's on Netflix, that really captures the way everything was found. And a brother turned him in. His brother
yeah,
turned him in. And I remember the manifesto. I remember living through all of this. And as
yeah,
a university professor, there was, some of us, not that he was targeting us, but you had always to be careful. Our mail was checked and everything else. And one connection, my godmother lives in a town where one of the victims lived,
oh wow,
and the package sat in the dining room while the husband was away for many days. He comes home on a Saturday, the family's away, he opens it and he dies. And there's a kind of bittersweet ending to the story. The FBI agent who is then assigned to the case and watching the house marries the widow many years later.
Wow.
And life is an interesting is interesting in so many ways. But you can imagine the terror everybody felt when your neighbor dies in this most horrifying manner.
Yeah.
And this was mostly the result of a Harvard professor running all kinds of experiments on Ted and others that resulted. I don't remember all the details, but many bylines to his name, and one that's not. This is about Christopher Clary, the story behind the story, reporting from the French Open in Paris, a city he lived in years ago. And quote of the day: "It would be way cheaper if we just went hang gliding over volcanoes." All right, I'm on the cost of restoring the underground landmark in Colorado, one of the biggest Mexican restaurants in the world. So he's saying this would be easier. Hang gliding over volcanoes would be easier than what he's doing. So this is Trey Parker, who you know is a comedian.
Yeah.
So, and a headline from history: 4 miles of Britain pilot. 4 miles over Britain, pilot is sucked out, crew holds on tight. In 1990, a British Airways pilot was sucked out at 23,000 feet. How to run with a stroller. We see a lot of parents doing things like that. I've learned to bike with a dog. Our dog Tara is very brave and runs with me. Do you know how to run with a stroller? Have you done that?
With a stroller, yeah. A long time ago when I knew how to run.
Okay. Folks, let me just make sure you can see. There's Nick. I'm Sree. We're reading the Sunday New York Times on Fire Island, and Nick is a musician. We're going to hear some of his music later, but check out nickbalaban.com. On trial for reporting on a death that fueled a revolt, 2 female journalists face charges in Iran. Very, very sad what's happening there, but these women are so brave to fight and stand out. It's so difficult. Here's how you can help Ukraine. And it's called helpsaveukraine.org.
Full page.
Yeah, full page ad. I hope people are helping them pay for this ad. I don't remember the exact number, but ads in the full page ad in the New York Times can be something like $75,000. No Dijon in Colombia. That just won't cut it. Did you know that Dijon was huge in Colombia? Mustard fans scrambled to fill a tangy void in Bogota. 4 children survived 40 days in the jungle.
Wow.
This was also a story in the Colombian rainforest. That's a miracle. Johnson's comeback hopes in UK may be dimmer than he thinks. And he was a clown for so long, and he did so much damage to the UK. Tell us about any memories of the UK, London.
Well, let's see. The first time I was there, I was touring with Culture, and we stayed in Binghamton, just north of London, and we were at I don't know, it was a Jamaican neighborhood, and we were sleeping on the floors and couches of of fans.
Nice.
And I remember going out and talking to local Londoners who were concerned for my safety, saying, you're in Binghamton, and it was a strange. It was I don't know. To me, then, like a strange form of racism, where it was just like, I'm perfectly safe, everything is fine. I was coming from New York, where it felt much less safe on the streets at that time.
Of course. By the way, Sudha is watching. Sudha Parekh is Neil's mom. Hi,
Mom. And sorry, Sree. Apparently, what's happening is that when I jump on the screen, it knocks off your audio, which doesn't usually happen. So I think you need to turn your audio back on if you can. I'll stop jumping on the screen, but couldn't help it when my mom came back. Hopefully, you can hear me. But Sree, if you can turn your audio back on, that would be great. And we'll just wait again for Sree to get his audio back. A little glitchy today for some reason. So we're just going to wait to see. There we go.
all right, you can hear us now. Sorry about that.
My apologies. I think when I'm jumping in, it's knocking out your audio, so I will not do that until the very end of the show.
Thank you, Neil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hi, Auntie. Thank you so much for watching. Marilyn says AI aligns with the goal of driving positive change on Staten Island by bringing other digital innovation, community media, and nonprofit excellence. So that was an answer to your question. And we are also seeing Chris Gorman says hi, watching from New York City. Chris is with the American Folk Art Museum. I'm honored to be on one of their committees. They're a beautiful space right in near Lincoln Center, and I hope everybody will get to go there. It's a beautiful museum. And Marilyn is asking, do you know Rob Mossy, piano player at Bemelmans?
I don't, although the name is very familiar to me.
Very cool. And Chavi's watching. Good morning, Chavi. Thanks for joining us. Everyone, please tag your friends. Anyone who likes music, who likes the news, who's interested in what's going on in the world. We're reading the Sunday New York Times with Nick Balaban, musician, composer, singer. He's performed with some fascinating people, including Ray Charles and James Taylor and Carly Simon, and lots of cool new people that I don't know, but those I know the older names.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I just want to clarify. So, most of the famous people that I got to work with, I got to work with through Blues Clues.
Nice.
When I was doing music for them. The James Taylor, Carly Simon was one gig. It was a crazy gig.
Yeah, you got to tell us about it.
The day of the gig, I got a call from a friend of mine saying, "Can you play tonight?" And I said, "Let me check my schedule." At the time, I was proofreading. I was doing legal proofreading and not much else. And I was like, "Yes, I think I can. I am free." So I said, "Do I need to bring my stuff?" No, everything's there. You're all set. I'm like, "Great. What are we going to play?" And he said, "Oh, just R&B, all these songs. You'll know it. It's fine." So I didn't know anything going in, and we went in, and it was at a place called the Fez Cafe, which was Under Time Cafe. They're no longer there, but great space. And we're with the band. I knew some of the guys in the band, and just as we're starting to play, this very familiar looking man starts playing acoustic guitar really well and singing some blues. And I'm like, "That's James Taylor. What is this gig?"
You didn't know even
Nobody
that?
told me.
Oh my God.
And then Carly Simon, to whom he had been divorced for many years, came up on stage.
Right.
And I was like, "This is..." And it turned out it was a private party for their daughter, Sally, who just turned 19. So that was the gig, and it was just...
That's amazing. What a great story. I've never figured out who is the person she was talking about being so vain. Do you have any insight on that?
They say it's Warren Beatty.
Yes.
I don't know.
You didn't find out that night.
No.
All right. Folks, we are reading the Sunday New York Times, and we're going to keep going here. Ukraine's leader signals the counterattack is on. Big story, of course. And then how about these wildfires, these Canadian wildfires? And even here, it looked like Mars the other day. It was really scary. I think I have a picture on my Twitter feed of what that looked like. And it really looked like Mars out here. We went on the beach. And let's see here. People are watching. Chris says, "Thank you, Sree, for the shout out to the American Folk Art Museum." Patricia says, "Thank you to the entire New York Times read along team and special guest Nick. Great episode." Marilyn says, "Amazing," and Marilyn says that she auctioned the answer on about who's so vain. So I missed the answer to that. And Paula Kiger, longtime producer of the show, is watching from New York City's West Side. She's usually in Tallahassee. And I'm sorry to miss you, Paula, this week in New York. I saw online that you were doing that. But thank you for... And there's my picture from Saltaire Beach. It looked like, as you know, this is what it looked like. And now it's perfectly clear and beautiful. And I do want to do one more shout out to person who's here on Saltaire, I took that photo with Ann Kirshner, who's longtime Salterian. I'm not
Yeah,
sure what
Saltarian. Yep.
Saltarian. She's the new interim president of Hunter College,
Oh, yeah.
and we're delighted. Longtime friend. Neil and I have done multiple projects with her. She sends her regards, Neil, to you. And this week she was named interim president of Hunter. She's a gifted educator who knows more about public and private universities, having she works with ASU as well as Princeton, and she was the second dean of the Macaulay Honors College at CUNY. So, importance of public education, we always want to stress that, and they're lucky to have her, and she gets to do what she loves. So, very exciting. On kids songs, Deborah Burnick says, "What's not to love?" Thanks, Nick. And Dr. Tachi says, "Thank you, Sree, Neil, and team for giving us a slice of New York every weekend." You are very welcome, Dr. Tachi. We got to get you on the show, either live from Fort Lauderdale or up here in New York. The refries that bind, cavernous cantina returns. This is that thing that Trey Parker is working on, I guess, to improve somewhere in Colorado. It's a subterranean story. Affirmative action vote that revealed fissures among Democratic voters. So I've not followed this, so I don't know enough about this. Biden commits to protecting LGBTQ rights. I've been surprised how much there seems to be things going backwards in this country, especially with DeSantis and others.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it goes both ways, I guess. Although I'd like to think that we're mostly going forwards, and that's why people feel so threatened.
Exactly. Appeals panel limits the judge in the USS Cole bombing case. And better and worse, what's it like to be a queer teen today? So this is sort of what we were just talking about, and I think it would be an interesting story for all of us to read and understand what it's like to be a queer teen today. And as you said, some things are so much better, and then many things are worse. And Trump case poses test of justice system. I believe one of the judges was a Trump appointed judge. So I don't know, is there a reclusal that happens or not? And Trump appointee was randomly assigned to case, clerk says. Why wouldn't he recuse himself? I don't understand that. And global reaction to Trump's latest legal woes ranges from outrage to eye rolls. Moscow calls it fake, Beijing kept quiet, and Europe was aghast. Don't they say you know who you are by the friends you keep and the enemies you have? And this is all about, here's the story about the guy in Idaho who killed 4 students. And one last job, 60-somethings with mob ties charged in jewel heists. Organized crime long has been the province of older men. And more about Ted Kaczynski. And new border chief named as policies face scrutiny, Jason Owens. And New York lawmakers pass Clean Slate Act as legislative session fizzles to an end, which is sad, of course. And scientists offer reason for a sleepy San Andreas fault. Are they complaining that it's sleepy? That's
Right.
good that it's sleepy. Yeah. Have you been to the border, the Mexico-U.S. border?
Yeah, I've been to the wall. It's
Oh, you've been to so in recent years you've been?
Yeah.
And what?
It's surreal.
Mm-hmm.
This the wall. And who's the artist who made those giant murals? French. I forget. I forget everything. I forget everything now. So it's that's my brother.
Hi, Jason. So let's do a shout out to family. We already talked about Anna Olivia. So tell us about Jason.
Jason has been my brother for most of my life. He's 5 years younger.
So most of his life.
All of his life.
Yes.
All of his life, he's been my brother. And this is him.
Uh-huh. What does he do? And does he have any musical talents?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a mortgage broker, and he does really whatever he feels like. Yeah, I believe we grew up together, he says. That's right. Um, we grew up in New Jersey together. Um,
Which town?
Tenafly.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh, by the way, here both our wives are jumping in. Maura says it was Christo, and Rupa says it was Christo who did the artwork on the border.
oh, well, that was right. I guess there were two. I was thinking of
And Christo's not French, so
right. No, I was thinking of the art. He had a show at the Brooklyn Museum. He puts giant faces, giant profile, giant photos of people in favelas.
Yes,
like
sounds
all
very
over.
sounds very familiar. Somebody will know the answer to that.
It's two initials like AJ
JF or something. JR.
JR.
JR. There you go. All right. Okay. Who shot JR is something from our
Right.
childhood or my childhood.
Yes,
Jason says he's a great listener. So
that's right.
yeah, all these musicians need somebody to listen to, right? Like this is what I always say. There are podcasts. Everybody's got a podcast, but someone has to listen to the darn things. You can't
Oh,
just
yeah.
everybody can't be a creator. Someone has to listen. And Jason says behind every failing memory is a helpful spouse. And there there you go.
hope
Tell us about Mora.
Mora, my wife.
You say wife?
My wife. We've been married for 24 years. 20. We talked about this recently. I think this coming January is going to be 25.
You needed to talk about it? You didn't know?
Well, math.
That's why you're a musician, yes. So I'm a journalist.
Yeah, I mean it's complicated because we were married in January, which it's a particular year, 1999 or 20. Yes, it will be 25. Absolutely.
Okay, tell us more about her.
She comes from an iconic family. I feel like I've married into a whole thing. Jason says next year is the tinfoil anniversary. No, that was this or last year. Next year is very it's 25 is something big.
It can't be tinfoil.
Right. It's like, it's something closer to rock.
Marilyn says after a while it's tough to count.
That's right. Thank you, Marilyn.
But you were saying, so you married into a thing.
An iconic Irish
Family.
Catholic family that is from the Republic of the Upper West Side, Manhattan. Silver, that's what it is. Yes.
Everyone's
Thank you.
jumping in with silver. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do something. In any case, yeah, I feel completely absorbed into her family, and I'm very thankful for it. She changed me from a self-absorbed, petty, small thinking person into a person who is only that for a couple hours a day.
I'm glad you said that because the assessment may not be exactly from her side that way too. So yeah, and well, that's great. Maura, thank you for hosting us. I'm shouting because she's next door. But thank you for having us here. Folks, we have about 30 minutes with Nick. We're going to hear some music. We're going to look through the rest of the paper. This is the Sunday New York Times read along. We read the Sunday paper. Sometimes it's the New York Times. I mean, often it's the New York Times, but we've been all over the country, all over the world. We read the Khaleej Times in Dubai. We read the Toronto Globe and Mail in Toronto, the Washington Post with the deputy editor of the Washington Post, Mark Fisher. And we have a special episode coming up. June 21st is a Wednesday. And we're going to be reading the Sunday New York Times Magazine on a Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, live with Jake Silverstein, the editor-in-chief of the New York Times Magazine, in person from New York Times headquarters. It's going to be amazing. Please join us. You will learn a lot. I will learn a lot about this special publication. I think it's one of the best magazines, and you get it free with the New York Times. and absolutely worth joining us, of course, as we do every Sunday. But this is going to be a special edition, so do join us as we do that. We're going to look here at the obits, and I love the obits. Sounds terrible to say it that way, but I love the
No,
obits.
they're great.
And William Spriggs has passed, economist who pushed for racial justice. He was a frequently quoted advocate for workers, especially black workers. And Carol Cooley, 87, detective behind the Miranda case.
Wow.
His interrogation led to "You have the right to remain silent." So that's an iconic part of all police procedurals and movies and everything else, but it came from a case that he was involved in.
And now he is going to remain silent.
All right, so
But
yes, dad jokes coming from Nick
Sorry.
Balaban. I didn't see that in the in your bio, but and then here's the sports section. We're not going to go through it except to know if there's any update from the tennis in the French Open. I'm just going to see Casper Ruud is leading Djokovic. It's the opening sets. The opening set, it's 3-0. Djokovic versus Casper Ruud. All right, let's keep moving. We've only made it through the first section, and we've got so much to read. But I want to go to arts and leisure with you as the musician you are. Behind Bars: Finding Freedom in Dance, an arts program in a California state's prison, encourages inmates to channel their feelings into movement, a new form of rehab. And we work with friends of ours who have founded the Prison Journalism Project, getting journalists to getting prisoners to write and describe what they're seeing and experiencing in prison. Prison Journalism Project. Check them out, folks. Absolutely worthy of your support. What are you watching on platforms? What are your favorite platforms? What are you watching these days? Do you have too many? Too few?
too many.
Okay. Give us
In
some.
fact, I recently had the revelation that automation and entertainment is becoming very dangerous in that we think of it as a tool, and we're not wrong about that, but it really is morphing from a tool into a vehicle to download our very lives. So I watch so much television, and it's so good. Hulu, Netflix, Max, what are the Amazon? Just all of it is. Apple TV has great stuff. There's a lot of great television. And,
Too much television, right?
Well, I like the adrenaline that it gives me. Like it feels like I'm living these lives. And Maura and I say if we don't see a murder a day, we haven't really had a good day, and that comes from just watching all the shows that we watch, mostly detective type things.
Sure. Here they're recommending on Hulu, I'm Not Your Negro. This is the James Baldwin documentary. The Square from 2017. Sophie's Choice from 1982. That's old school.
Yeah.
Man on Wire is amazing about Philippe Petit, the tightrope walker. Boogie Nights, also old school. Bridesmaids.
Right.
So lots of old things happening on Hulu. And here's Jim Gaffigan. Quiet. He might be napping. And I can show you that I got to interview Jim. You can see here, he's really funny. Jim is, I got to interview him at the Shorty Awards, where we honor excellence on social media, such as it is. And he was one of the people honored, and he is really funny. And here's we're going to go back to the story about the bodies in confinement. And maybe you can just flip the dance. Anything catches your eye? Anything you've been to theater recently? I've seen two things on, both happen to have Indian connections. The Life of Pi on Broadway, and Monsoon Wedding the musical on in St. Anne's Warehouse, which is in Dumbo.
Yeah.
And really special.
I'd love to see
I'm not a fan of things becoming musicals. There's a Back to the Future musical. Perfect trilogy of films made into a musical. They're like, but in this case, the musical Works.
Yeah.
Mira Nair's story from
Oh, there's
2003.
Wendell Pierce.
Oh, he's great.
I saw him in Death of a Salesman. I don't know if you got to see that.
No, I did not.
That was life-changing, I would
Wow,
say.
that's saying something.
that
I saw
was-
Brian Dennehy in it on a different
Oh,
show,
yeah.
and he was also very good. Roll over Beethoven again. AI isn't new to classical, but recent developments worry and intrigue composers. So, as a composer, your thoughts?
It's intriguing. I saw this isn't exactly AI, but it's very related. It's so close. I was on I think it was Facebook, and there was a quick little thing that was interesting to me where this guy, I think it was a German guy, said, "Here's how we can use this software, and here's a vocal," and there was just a couple lines. It was completely generic. He said, "Let's make a melody," and you just press a button, and it assigns a melody to this vocal, so it's pitched and processed immediately. And he said, "All right, let's give it some chords," and there are some chords that come on, dun, 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 and they're already rhythmatized. And he said, "Let's find a bass sound that we like," and the bass sound recognizes the chords and fits with the chords, and then that's in. And he says, "Let's put some drums in." The whole thing was less than 2 minutes, and they had a song at the end, and the song was so completely unmemorable. There was no feeling. There was nothing human or soulful to grab onto. It was just a song. It was done. And I feel like that is AI without any human behind it.
Right.
That's what happens, is just you're just picking things randomly. I feel like the great thing about composing is not the sound of it, but the imagination of it before there's any sound at all.
Sure. Jason says, our father insisted TV would turn our brains to mush. We took that into consideration.
Yeah.
So many comments coming in, folks. I'm sorry I've not been reading all the comments, but here's Naomi says, I'm Not Your Negro is a powerful doc on James Baldwin. BJ is wishing you luck with your album, Nick.
Oh,
and there's so many comments coming in. Television is a great escape, says Marilyn. And Neil's pointing out Shaheen Pasha about the shout out we gave the Prison Journalism Project. And Diana, who's watching in California at 6:45 a.m. Thank you, Diana, for watching. Great supporter of the show. And Bijay has enjoyed being part of the show as well. So many comments. We'll have to look at them later. And Jason says, sounds like Devo.
Oh no, Devo was great. Devo was great. I mean, and they had a soul. They had they had imagination. They have a concept. And when Connie Plank produced their first record, I think they really, I don't know, galvanized that concept that they had of, just sort of industrial anti-melody. I mean, it was a human interpretation of the robotization and
music. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for some people who don't know who Devo, check them out. They're all over the internet. You can find them. Not Dying First and Getting the Last Laugh. A Juneteenth weekend getaway turns horror movie stereotypes upside down.
Wow.
I don't know which movie this is. I think it's called The Blackening. It's on theaters on Friday. Do check that out. And Jonathan says, so many people I know are annoyed I don't have a TV. And Eric says, Gaffigan is great. He's from Ottawa, which is where Eric is right now. And Naomi says Devo was amazing in live performance.
I bet. I know so.
Yeah, and I'll just say about Jonathan not having a TV. It's like I say to people who don't have Twitter, that means you're reading more. You have a better life. But with television, one of the things that happens, I don't know if you've noticed, is that everybody gives you homework. You meet somebody for dinner and they say, you got to watch this, you got to listen to this. And I got my own life. I don't have time to add all these things.
I think it's the contemporary standard for literacy is television right now.
Here is hardcore punk has a different look. People of color, queer musicians, and women are producing some of the genre's most interesting sounds. And you've done a lot of punk music. So
No, I haven't done a lot.
oh, you've done some.
Little bit.
Okay, a little bit. So tell us about what does this mean for punk music? Having, grown up around it, how different this is for people who don't know.
Well, I think look is the important word here. Hardcore punk has a different look. Um, uh, People of color and queer musicians have always been a part of the punk world. And this is the thing with all of the arts. It's not as if suddenly all of these people are deciding to jump in and like write books and all of they've always been here. I think the new thing is that there's a platform now that is and it is really exciting, and even going back to television, all of these shows now you see things like Reservation Dogs or all of these great shows that would never exist years ago, because I don't know why. I guess ultimately racism, but
Yeah, sure.
they're terrific. It's great to see.
We're in the book section now. Were you born in 1964?
62.
So you don't remember these moments, but unseen photographs taken by Paul McCartney, Liver Right Publishing, Live Right Publishing, not Liverite. And these are pictures. Oh, look at this, John and George.
Our local bookstore has these autographed, and I think they're auctioning they're thousands of dollars.
This is in Brooklyn, not here.
Yeah.
Saltaire has no bookstore.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a bookstore in on Fire Island. Probably not. People don't come here. They come here to read, of course, on the beach, but there's a lot of partying going on here.
There are libraries.
There are libraries. That's right, and giveaways. They just give away books, which is great. Everybody Knew Your Name. An author pays tribute to an unlikely institution, Coogan's, that was the life and death of a neighborhood bar. And the writer and actor Lin-Manuel Miranda gets a drink in 2014 with his mother, Luz Towns Miranda, and his father Luis Miranda, and his wife Vanessa Nadal at Coogan's restaurant.
Oh, great.
And this is Rachel Lewis Snyder's memoir chronicles her unstable childhood. The book is called Women We Buried, Women We Burned. Town, Gown, and Down. Brandon Taylor's novel moves among Iowa City residents on the brink. The Late Americans is the name of the book. Wow. And let's look at one more. The Lost Sons of Omaha. Two young men in an American tragedy. A journalist investigates a saga of a death that occurred in Nebraska during the racial unrest after the killing of George Floyd. So I didn't know there was something that happened in Omaha. Wow. Built from the Fire, the epic story of Tulsa's Greenwood District, America's first Black Wall Street. Such an important story. Most people don't know about this, but this place where there were rich black folks in Tulsa was burned down in a race riot where the white folks came to their neighborhood and burned it down, and it was just very, very sad.
I learned about it from, as so many of us learned about it, from Watchmen.
Yes.
Which was
on HBO.
A ridiculous way to learn.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we don't have time to go through all of this, but we'll look at I like looking at the bestseller list in part to see what I've not been paying attention to. And the nonfiction top book is The Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann. The Wager by David Grann. Wow, two books at the top of the... I don't know David at all. Outlive by Peter Attia and Bill Gifford. And The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk. I don't know any of these books. A Book of Charlie by David Wandrelli, who's a Washington Post columnist. I do know his name. Nora Roberts, His Identity, Happy Place, Emily Henry. Tell me if you know any of these. It ends with us, Colleen Hoover, and then The Covenant of Water, Abraham Verghese's book, 3 generations of family living in South India's Malabar coast, Kerala, where my family is from.
Oh, wow.
Suffer the cost of a family member.
I've been in Kerala.
You've been to Kerala. Wow,
Yeah.
tell us.
I love it.
All right, I'm going to move the camera up here. They can see your face a lot clearer here.
Yeah,
so tell us about Kerala.
Well, I don't know that I should be the one telling you about Kerala.
What were you doing there?
I lived in Malaysia for a year.
Wow.
And at that time I had a girlfriend who was from Kerala, and she couldn't come with me, but I went alone, and visited her brother there, and in Trivandrum.
Trivandrum, yeah, my
Yeah.
father lives there.
Yeah, so I mean, Carla, as you know, is the most educated per capita place on earth. So I mean, it's incredible. You take a bus ride, and people are asking me about my local politicians in New York. Where are you from? Yeah, and like, I mean, it was it was mind blowing. The conversations and it was like the most wonderful place on earth, and I keep wanting to go back. But yeah, I went to Kerala and I don't know, Bangalore and Uti, Mysore, and
Wow.
then Goa to the left, and then back through. But anyway, yeah, it was terrific.
All right, folks, we have about 10 minutes left. We're just going to quickly look at the Times Magazine. Oh, these are pebbles or stones from the beach, right? This is, and tell us, we're looking at the magazine in part because he loves the magazine, but we are going to be on Wednesday, the 21st. We're going to be in New York Times headquarters reading at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday the magazine as it comes off the press with Jake Silverstein, the editor in chief. You don't want to miss this. We're taking Father's Day off next week, but we'll be back on Wednesday, June 21st with a very special show. The cover is Bad Credit, Fix It Now, the high cost of low scores. And lots of people trying to get you to do that. Wow, that's a credit life? I can't read that
It
credit.
looks like life.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And here's a podcast very popular, the Ezra Klein Show podcast. A recent guest on the show was our friend Shreya Sinha, who is editorial director of audio at the New York Times, and she was talking about the New York Times audio app, which is brand new and everybody should get. Word Cloud, this is about the office of the vice president paints another occupant into a corner. We've certainly seen this, how difficult it is for the vice president to succeed. Makes countless public appearances that will mostly be ignored unless something humiliating happens, and that's really problematic. And here's a 1619 project.
Incredible
And
book.
yeah, and now they have a children's version, Born on the Water by Nicole Hannah-Jones and Renee Watson, illustrated by Nicholas Smith. Is it wrong to bring a child into our warming world? Okay, ethical question for you.
No.
I'm just putting you on the spot.
There we go. Nope. Nope. No. What else are we gonna do? I mean, I don't. It's wrong to bring a child into our warming world if you don't want to bring a child into the world. That would be wrong. And I think there are a lot of people who do that. Just like, well, I got to have a kid because it's an obligation. But you know, but if you want to have a child, then yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
All right. He has spoken. The ethicist has
Simple.
spoken. Yes. I agree. Marilyn says, it's amazing how life varies according to credit scores. And Naomi says, I subscribe to a terrific site, Black Wall Street, which I highly recommend. So we should check that out. And definitely the tyranny of the credit scores is a big problem. Danish cookie tins. This is a letter of recommendation by Raksha Vasudeva. And I knew this would have to be an Indian person because it's a ubiquitous household storage receptacle. You know what we're talking about here?
I
And
do actually.
And do you have any?
I don't know if we had them
Here.
here, but I grew up with these.
Yeah. So not just Indian people.
I guess not.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought everybody had them.
Yeah. Let's see here. A patient's symptoms suggested she had long COVID, but could that suspicion cloud the doctor's vision? Tell us about your COVID adventures.
Wow, chorizo taquito. Yeah, that's Mora enjoys those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel a little guilty about my COVID adventures. I have a guilty pleasure of that time of going out into the park where there was very few people and it was so peaceful.
Did you play in the park? Did you take your guitar and play?
No, I took pictures of trees. I became absolutely obsessed with trees during COVID,
wow.
and that has kind of stuck. I did on Facebook Live. I was doing concerts from my living room every week,
Nice. I remember.
and they're still up on
Yeah,
YouTube.
that's great. People should check them out. And we're going to hear a little bit of your music before we go. This is an ad for Brandeis University, great university. Anita Hill is a professor there of social policy. She warned us about everything that was going to happen, and we didn't take her seriously. And look what happened. This is about a cringe comedian named
Tim Robinson.
who I don't know. I don't know. I sort of recognize here, I guess.
He's a lot of these cringe comedians are really funny, but I think the toughest thing with them is that they are so uncomfortable themselves that it makes it hard. But
by the way, I think the ring said Credit Lift. Not Life, Credit Lift. So she's the founder of Credit Lift.
It's like Black Mirror.
Yeah, the founder of KB's Way Credit. Credit scoring reflects numerically America's racial and economic divides. And Matt Listro, the Alabama-based founder of Credit Con, an annual credit repair conference. So a whole conference about repairing your credit. The miracle beneath our feet, a vast fungal web braids life together on Earth. Merlin Sheldrake, what a name, wants to help us see it.
Wow, with magic.
Yeah, exactly. And are you a puzzler?
Oh my God. Where's the? I have to take a quick. There it is.
The spelling bee.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this live. Give me.
Oh really?
A word.
All right, going, conning. I'm not seeing...
How about gong?
I go for gong. Oh no, that's no good. It has to be 5.
Oh, it has to be 5, not 4. That's right, 5.
One,
yes,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, that's good enough. Let's
gouging.
Gouging.
There's a good one.
Oh.
Um,
and you have to get 7, you're good. 13, excellent. 19, you're a genius. So you're well on your way, Mr. Genius. All right. So we're going to start wrapping up here. We have so much more of the paper to go, but we didn't get a chance to read everything. But we're so happy and grateful to Nick Balaban for being with us. We do want to play a little bit of music. Let's see if Neil was able to queue up something for us to listen to. And he's going, I think, right to the website and nickbalaban.com. And let's see if we can.
Yes, Laura says, when Nick gets Queen Bee, it makes his day. It's absolutely true. I get very strange and I feel like, oh.
And Marilyn's a crossworder, so that's great.
Oh yeah, my friend Tony Orbach sometimes writes the crosswords, and it's really fun.
So, Sree, I wanted to check. Were you able to hear the audio when I played it? Did it? And I think we lost. Sree?
So go ahead and play it again, Neil.
All right, sure. Let's see here.
Jason says, hold on. Jason says when he doesn't get Queen Bee, it's rough.
No. Rarely.
And I can't control the volume on this, so it's maybe a little loud.
All right. Not yet? No, we're not hearing it.
All right.
Otherwise, I have a way of playing the music here as well.
We'll try it again.
Yep.
Let's see here. Audio should be coming through.
Oh, maybe are you at the beginning of the song? Because
it's 4 minutes of silence.
You know, we should go in like maybe a minute or so into the song.
Let's try that again. And pressing play.
Vigilante on TV. There was good versus bad, followed by an ad for repression of depression.
So that's the beginning of The Lone Ranger. Nick, which song should we go to next?
Let's hear just go a minute in or so to Wakey Wakey.
Wakey Wakey. Let's see if I can do that.
Meanwhile, I'll just read some of the titles. Throw Off the Jinx, Vulnerable, Rinse Cycle, Death of a Buffoon, Funky Doolittle, Lunch with George.
Yeah.
Let's see. Minute in. Here we go.
Not a big deal. We all know tests are
Second one
not what's real. So now you know how we feel. It's high school that you got to appeal to. So wakey, wakey.
Nice. Did you ever go to
Buenos dias.
CBGB?
Yeah, I played there a couple times.
Yeah. What was it like?
It was a very romantic, dingy place.
I don't know how that goes together, but okay. But one of these famous places, right? Like the Knitting Factory,
Oh, yeah.
Bottom Line, CBGBs. What are the places now that people go to? Or people, where would you like to play? What are places that you
well,
like to play?
There's let's see, where am I playing locally? I played at Shrine a few times recently in Harlem.
Mhm.
There's I'm playing at the Bitter End on the 27th, playing Grateful Dead music.
No.
Oh boy. There's so
So
many.
they can find gigs on nickbalaban.com. Follow you on Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah,
Twitter. Car Tripper One. What does that mean? Car Tripper One.
Well, I made a kids record years ago that I wanted to get funding for, called Car Trippers, and it was all for the car, for
Right.
kids in the car,
Right.
and it was a great concept. It was going to be in New Orleans, and I had all these people like Irma Thomas and Kermit Ruffins signed up like to do this record, and I needed investors to get the record made. And at the moment that I was in New Orleans making this process happen, streaming began. And all the potential investors were like, no, CDs are done.
So
Records are done.
Mara says Wakey is about public school to middle school application process in New York City. Horrible. Yes, that is something that people have to deal with.
Incredibly anxiety producing. And that song is about how we parents we infuse our kids with horrible, unnecessary anxiety out of love.
Yes.
We do it out of love. And
your family knows your gigs better than you. You're playing the New York Brewery, and Mara says
Joe's Pub, right?
You're playing Joe's Pub.
Joe's Pub on July 7th.
There you go.
Is that right?
Wow.
July 7th.
All right, folks, if you're in town, let's go see our friend here, Nick, and you'll get to meet Mara as well. I'm sure she'll be there. So, and maybe Jason.
No, Joe's Pub is July 6th.
It's a Thursday. Excellent.
July 6th at 9:30 with the New York Ska Orchestra, New York's NYC Ska Orchestra, which is a 19-piece ska band.
Isn't that an oxymoron, ska and orchestra?
No. Ska is just a style,
right?
Rhythmic style from Jamaica, and
right. And there's an orchestra now.
That's well, great. Now it's a big band, really.
Oh, okay. And so, what are you going to be playing?
Keyboards, and I help arrange some of them. But everybody, that band is such a terrific community, and in fact, there is hopefully a documentary in the works about that band.
Wow!
So
excellent. Folks, we're almost out of time. We want to thank everybody who's watching. We do this every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, but not next Sunday because it's Father's Day, and Neil and I are taking the Sunday off. But we are having a special episode on Wednesday, June 21st, at the New York Times. We're going to be with Jake Silverstein, who is the editor-in-chief of the New York Times Magazine, and we're going to get the magazine all fresh off the press on a Wednesday afternoon, and we're going to read the paper with him. We're going to read just the magazine with him, and Nick said he is worthy of worship because he is the editor-in-chief of the New York Times Magazine, and that's a beautiful way to put it. We want to tell everybody, speak your Father's Day. Neil and I have put together something called the Digimentors Tools Kit, recommendations for personal tech, gear, and apps. So these are some of our favorite cool things that you can buy someone in your life, or a graduation gift, also not just Father's Day, but a graduation gift. This is the way we do our business. This is how we work. So we recommend it to you. This is like a poor man's wire cutter, I guess would be one way to look at it. But Digimentors is our company. We do all kinds of programs like this, but we also do digital consulting, social media consulting for brands across the world, small business, big business, nonprofits. Anybody needs help, please let us know. Jason says that the New York Ska Orchestra is a tremendous gig, nothing like it. And Neil was just showing us our brochure, so he's going to put that back up because we definitely don't want to cut out on that. And these are the things we do at digimentors.group. Please check us out. And I'm doing these AI workshops. Would love to do one for your lunch and learn or your conference or anything like that. This is how I used to look once, Nick, when I used to teach things about here's the internet, here is the web 25 years ago. And then I lost all my hair in the process as I've been doing this. So I can't blame the AI for that. And Neil is putting in a link to the tools kit. You'll find it right on digimentors.group. It's right on the top. There's a tab that says tools kit, so you can find it there. Mary C. Curtis says, happy early Father's Day to all the dads. Dad here. Mary C. Curtis is an incredible podcaster, columnist, a writer for Roll Call. And Mary, you got a shout out in my last newsletter about teen mental health. And everyone, if you aren't a subscriber, sreenet.substack.com, sreenet.substack.com. We talk about teen mental health. It's so, we've raised kids who had, of course, exposed to media and their own problems, but this is, I think, a particularly difficult moment for parents and kids to navigate.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I didn't put into the newsletter, Nick, that I was so upset to read, the second highest cause of death among 10-year-olds in America is suicide. 10-year-olds.
God.
Just so upsetting. Yeah. So I couldn't put it in the newsletter because then it would have been all become about that. I wanted to throw up as I read it. And the CDC.
Wow.
So, and in multiple.
And the first cause of death is gun violence.
I'm not sure. It could be gun violence, could be illness, could be,
I think gun violence is the first cause of death
for all children. Wow.
Yeah,
that's just absolutely horrifying. Jonathan says, great show and nice that more than one island of the archipelago was mentioned: Manhattan, Fire Island, Staten Island, and even Brooklyn, which is part of Long Island, I guess. And Jonathan, thank you for all you do in supporting the show. As everybody, tag a friend, folks. They can watch us live or later. And as soon as we're off the air, it'll run on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, blog, LinkedIn, and on Digimentors.group. And we have Bob Anthony's great digital tech tip every week as well. So check us out on Instagram at Digimentors. That's Neil Parekh at Neil Parekh, and I'm at Sree on Twitter, SreeNet on Instagram. NickBalaban.com, everybody, check him out. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Join us on Wednesday, June 21st, 3 p.m. with Jake Silverstein of the New York Times Magazine, editor-in-chief, talking about life at the New York Times Magazine. And Diana says, great show. I think music should be part of all shows moving forward. I love hearing the music this morning. And Diana is up early. She's somebody who does so much for children with music and understand the environment as well. So that's
maybe really I'll make you a theme song.
Wow. That would be amazing. Oh my God. Liz says, thank you so much, Sree and Nick and everybody. Thank you all for watching. We're so grateful. And Dr. Tachi says, great show. She's been hanging out in the morning watching. We really appreciate everybody who watches. Tag a friend. They can watch as soon as we're going to be off the air in a minute, and you can see it then. Thanks very much, everybody. Thank you, Neil.